Today on the channel, the best ofs continue, and this time we're counting down my top 5 vehicles of 2024.
And the spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Welcome everyone, Kyle here, and welcome back to the channel for another Best of 2024 Countdown video. In today's video, we're counting down my top 5 action figure vehicles of 2024. And vehicles, something that is always a big part of my collecting, starting as a little kid all the way up till now. Obviously, we all remember the glory days of the 80s and 90s. Well, I shouldn't say we all remember, but I definitely remember the glory days of the 80s and 90s where vehicles were almost as important as the figures in some cases for me and other collectors out there. We remember the G.I. Joe line, of course. We had vehicles, we had drivers for the vehicles, so many vehicles, so little time, you could almost say. We also had other toy lines with vehicles, of course, Mask and Transformers basically being vehicles in some ways. But the vehicle heyday really was the 80s and 90s. Really went dormant outside of a couple of small vehicles here and there for the last decade or so. However, we're seeing the rise in vehicles once again, especially with the G.I. Joe classified line and other lines as well. And I like the idea of vehicles in my head, but as a more adult collector now, I'm not a huge vehicle guy because they take up a lot of room. There's a lot of space taken up by things like the Dragonfly and other vehicles from other properties that we're going to talk about in this very video. So it'll be interesting to see 2025. Will we get more vehicles? Will we get less? Will we get the right sized vehicles? Maybe a little smaller vehicles that are smaller on our wallet as well, because these big giant vehicles for 6-7 inch scale figures, very, very difficult, as you could imagine, to find room for in a lot of people's collection, even my collection. So it's an interesting list that we're going to talk about here. I'm very interested to hear your list as well, and we're going to do this one like we do all the other ones. We're going to start at number 5, work our way to number 1, number 1 being the best vehicle of 2024. But also, of course, this is my list, and I want to see your list in the comments down below and put them in order. That's the hard part. That is the fun part. And we're going to kick it off, of course, at number 5. All right, we kick off the countdown at number 5 in our top 5 vehicles of 2024 countdown. And this is one that I wasn't ever expecting, but it did come across the YouTube channel, I guess we'll call it, in 2024. This one comes from the Masters of the Universe, but this comes from the cartoon line. What is it? It is Skeletor's collector vehicle. A very, very cool, almost want to say a deep cut vehicle, but I guess not really. I don't remember this, of course, with the toys back in the day, and I always say in our He-Man stuff, do you think of the cartoon or do you think of the toys? And I go a little bit back and forth, but I go more to the toys because I spent more hours with the toys as a kid. You'd get a half-hour window of He-Man a day, but you'd get hours of entertainment playing with the toys, and they never made this toy ever until the brand new Filmation cartoon line. So obviously a special, I almost said figure, special vehicle here for He-Man fans, long-term He-Man fans. Very, very cool and definitely something different, and that's why it comes in at number 5 in my year of best of countdown. Countdown rolls on in more ways than one to the number 4 selection, and for the first time in this countdown, and not the last time, we go to the G.I. Joe Classified series. We take a trip to Target, beautiful this time of year, and busy, for the G.I. Joe Tiger Paw. Now, probably people are saying, what about the Cobra Ferret? I'm going to tell you, spoiler alert, it is not on this list. As a kid, I had the Cobra Ferret. I got it almost at the end days of my collecting via some flag points way back when. But the original version of the ferret I had was the Tiger Paw with, of course, the greatest Joe sub-team of all time, the Tiger Force. So when I found out the ferret was being made, I was excited, but I was saying, hey, where's that Tiger Paw? Get me that Tiger Paw, and we did get it this year via Target with Wreckage as the driver, which we didn't have with the original Tiger Paw. But this one is so nostalgic for me because I had so many hours of fun with the OG Tiger Paw back in the day. And that's a big part of these countdowns. Do I like it in the modern day? Did I like it this year? Did I have it back when? Is there nostalgia wrapped around it? And the Tiger Paw has all of that for me every single day. So I love this Tiger Paw. I was so happy we got this year. That's why it's on the list, coming in at number 4. We're already at the halfway point in my top 5 vehicles of 2024. Once again, get your list together, put it in the comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. So many top 5, top 10 lists as we celebrate the best of 2024 in action figures. Also up on my channel is my brand new collection tour part 1 and part 2. So big I had to split it into 2 videos. Check those out if you have not already. But here we are at number 3. And number 3 is an interesting one. I don't want to say controversial one, but it does seem like in the Joe world, a lot of people put their flag on one side and don't cross the stream. As it's always dangerous to cross the stream, but I'm known as a stream crosser. I'll cross it a time or two, and I definitely did in 2024, as I did head over to the Action Force from Valaverse for the Vanguard. And a lot of people nitpicking the Vanguard, and I understand, there's people that want perfection, and we all want perfection. We want constant learning, constant improvement, and there is some upgrades. There's some things that are going to change with the Vanguard. We know we're going to get some extra pieces sent to us and things like that. But as far as a 6-inch scale vehicle that works for the Action Force and G.I. Joe, I think this is pretty nice. I know, like I said, not everybody is on board with it, but I am. Now, the thing that holds this back for me is one of the things we talked about in the last one. It is the nostalgia factor. That, of course, Tiger Paw, huge on the nostalgia factor. The Vanguard, not so much. It's a new made-up vehicle for the Action Force line this year. But man, if I think back to when I was a kid, I would be using this just like I used the Galoob A-Team guys. I used that A-Team van. I used the A-Team guys as a sub-team. That's the same thing I would be doing with the Action Force Vanguard if I was still playing back in the day. So I always put myself back in those childhood shoes, and those were big shoes back then, let me tell you. But I do enjoy this vehicle for what it is. Obviously, if it was a G.I. Joe vehicle, maybe I'd like it a little bit more just because of the nostalgia factor. But I do like having things like this in my collection, and I'm very anxious to see where the Valaverse goes with future vehicles. So I guess we'll stay tuned for that as well. But the Vanguard coming in extra hot at number 3 in my top 5 list. Next up in the countdown, number 2, as we dive in closer and closer to the number 1 spot of my top 5 vehicles of 2024. And the number 2 is one of those ones that put a little Harley hysteria, is what I've called it the last couple of years. A lot of people pass it, I'll get it later, I'll get it later. Well, unfortunately for a lot of collectors, later never did come. Now, we've seen some re-releases, repaints of this, but the OG version, which we're talking about, still extremely hard to find at a good price, and good luck getting it at retail or under retail at this point. What are we talking about? We're going to the Classified series. We're going to the G.I. Joe Vamp, an OG all-timer of a vehicle. I always think of this in the Awe Striker, which I would love to see the Awe Striker in the Classified series as kind of the plain Jane vehicles for the Joe team back in the day. Maybe not super small vehicles, not big vehicles. Dare I call them grandma vehicles? And maybe. But always loved the Vamp back in the day. Love the Vamp now. Very cool to get this in the G.I. Joe Classified series line. A lot of us didn't know if that was going to be a possibility. We knew we'd get some of the smaller Trouble Bubble stuff. We'd get the big stuff, of course, part of the HasLab. But the in-betweens we weren't so sure of. And it looks like the in-betweens are winning out. And I wouldn't be shocked that there's a lot of rumors that we'll get the Thunder Machine in the future. Have to imagine coming with Thrasher. I'm here for that as well. But this Vamp looking very, very good. I'm still on the fence. I have these in my collection. The Gridiron Studios oversized tires. I'm thinking about putting this on the Vamp or the Stinger. I can't make my mind up at this point. One of these days I will do that when I figure out which I want to do. But I really do like this one. Of course, always fun to come with the drivers. I knock the headlights out. But a beautiful, beautiful vehicle. Can't wait to see what's in store in this size vehicle for the G.I. Joe brand in 2025. And I guess we'll just have to stay tuned for that. Just like you'll have to stay tuned. What is the number 1 vehicle of 2024? I think you guys probably can guess. Stay tuned. Here we go. We're at the number one vehicle of 2024 as voted by me. Hopefully you guys got your list together. Once again, put it in the comments down below. Start at number 5, work your way to number 1, with number 1 being your favorite vehicle of the year. But for most people, I have to think my number 1 selection will also be their number 1 selection, as this one blew us away. A lot going on with this one, taking the OG one to a whole nother level here in 2024. The number 1 vehicle of the year is the G.I. Joe HasLab. It is the Dragonfly. Of course it's the Dragonfly. What else would it be? I love the Dragonfly. I've mentioned it before. I did get that as a kid. Very cool in my adult age now to get one like this with all the bells and whistles, the lights, all the extra accessories, came with the figures. It is truly almost a perfect HasLab for a lot of people. Now it's going to be very interesting if this can be topped next year with the Rattler. We'll find out, I guess, about a year from now when we do this list again. But it was a very easy decision. This started at number 1. It ended at number 1. And will go down as probably one of the greatest HasLabs of all time, at least from where I sit. You guys know right here at this very table. So there it is, the Dragonfly, number 1 for me. Once again, what's number 1 for you? Let me know in the comments down below. You made it this far. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Turn on the old notification bell, as we got videos every single day. And then some. We got even more content for you, of course, over there on Patreon. Patreon, best way to support this channel. You get both of my YouTube channel. Everything funnels up there early. You get also glamour shots, giveaways, Q&As, you name it. All going down in the old Patreon. Appreciate the support over there. ProWrestlingTees.com. Search Kyle Peterson. SirPaul64 on the X. The _Kyle_Peterson on Threads and Instagram. And, of course, now on TikTok. So for our top 10 vehicles of 2024, I am Kyle. See you guys all real soon.